This is Sam Rosenfarb, and I'm interviewing my in-laws, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, Helen and Frank Davis. They're the parents of my wonderful wife, Marilyn Rosenfarb, their oldest and most beautiful daughter. So, I'm gonna start. Mom, when is your birthday? Let's start with that.
May 11th.
May 11th, what year?
You want to know how old I am?
Well, because today is July 16th, 2003.
May 11th, 1920.
1920. And I know that you have an older brother.
Yes, I do.
How old was he when you were born?
7.
And what was your mother's name?
Rose.
Rose. And what was her maiden name?
Shea Wilson.
And how many brothers and sisters did she have?
She was one of 9.
9. And what were their names?
Rose, May, Kitty.
Abby.
I'm thinking the girls first.
Oh.
There were 4 girls. Rose, May, Kitty, and Helen.
Rose, May, Kitty. Up in...
I'll think of it.
All right, we'll think of it. And
Bill,
West New York? West New York?
That's Kitty.
That wasn't Kitty. West New York? How about Mel Shaverson's mother?
Mel Shea Wilson's father was my mother's brother.
right.
Okay.
All right?
And what was your father's name?
My father's name was Morris Kabakov.
Morris. And did he have brothers and sisters?
No,
No brothers and sisters. Just...
not that I know of. He came from Russia,
Oh.
and I knew very little about his family.
So, and where did you go to school?
I went to East Orange High School,
Oh.
and New York University, and Cornell.
And what jobs did you have?
I had a job as a speech pathologist and English teacher
Where did you work as a speech pathologist?
at the Institute for the Crippled and Disabled in New York.
Yes, and what caused you to stop working there?
My mother made me stop.
And why did she make you stop?
Because one of the kids had a crush on me and chased me all over the place.
I don't blame him. And how old were you when she made you stop?
About 20.
20 years old. And then where did you work?
Then I worked in Verona. I taught school there for a while. And then, you should have asked me to relive some of this stuff.
Yes, please. Tell us some stories from...
What was I doing when I
Bell
was
Telephone Company.
I worked, that's right. I was a representative of New Jersey Bell. Service representative.
And what did you do as a servant? You didn't climb telephone poles and fix wires?
No, I
No.
answered telephones and problems.
Oh, and
And it was in Montclair. I was born when my parents lived in Montclair, and many people knew my father when I mentioned my name, my maiden name.
oh, what did he do?
My father ran a store,
What kind of store?
stationery and gifts.
And did you work did you help out sometimes?
Once in a while, but not often.
Did your brother help out sometimes?
Probably not.
He didn't.
That I was.
Did you know the customers too?
Some of them.
So, but they knew your parents and your father from your name,
And
from
my
your
mother
name, from
too.
Kabakov.
Mhm.
Right. And when did your mother pass away? How old were you?
1955.
I was about 35,
35. Oh, so, and when did you get married?
in 1942,
And where did you get married?
Seattle, Washington.
And what were the circumstances surrounding
There
you?
was a war going on.
Oh.
And my
When was it? 1942 in what
November.
month? November. There was a war going on.
There was
A big
going
war.
on. And my husband was a naval officer. My fiance
Your
was
fiance.
a naval officer.
Sitting right next to you. The same fiance.
The same one. And I went out to Seattle and we were married there.
How did you get out there?
I took a train.
A train 3,000 miles away?
Saw this whole beautiful country on the train.
Who went with you on the train?
No,
You were all alone on the train?
all
How old were you?
22.
22 years old. You went all the way across country on the train to be married.
Did I ever tell you the story of that?
Tell us the
Came
story.
in for breakfast one morning, and the waiter came over to me and he said, "See those hills way off there?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Those are the foothills to the Rockies." Came in for dinner that night, and another waiter said to me, "See those hills over there? They are the foothills to the Rockies. You approach the Rockies for a whole day. And when people fly across the country and don't travel across the country, they fly over it, they miss some beautiful sights."
Oh, was it beautiful to
Beautiful.
cross and see the Rockies?
Beautiful to see everything,
And you just traveled by yourself?
all alone.
And these are the waiters on the train who you spoke to?
Yeah.
That's terrific. That's great. When you got to Seattle, did you get married that day?
No, Frank Ship wasn't in.
So where did you stay?
I stayed with friends of his.
How long did it take you to get across? From-
About 3 days,
3 days traveled on a train.
2 or 3 days.
Was it worth it?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you waited for
For my
Dad,
ship to come in,
for your ship to come in, and then you got married.
as soon as the ship came in.
And then how long did you stay before you went back?
That was November. The following summer, I think, wasn't it?
No,
We
when you got
transferred.
married in November,
Yeah.
did Dad stay with you in Seattle?
No, he was taking troops up to the Aleutian Islands. He went back and forth.
And you stayed in Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
And you stayed in Seattle until January?
No, longer than January.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I think it was August or September that we were transferred. Was it Florida?
Oh, so your parents didn't see you for months after you got married?
Right,
Oh,
Months.
in August.
so they didn't see you for 9 months until after you got married?
Yeah,
So none of the...
I'm on leave, I think, one day,
we did,
in between, yes.
Oh, you went home once?
on leave.
I see, but other than that,
Had a reception.
nobody came, none of your family members came to the wedding?
No, no,
And none of the family members then saw you for a long time after you got married?
right?
Oh, that must have been very interesting.
Yeah,
They must have missed you.
I should think so.
Right. And where was your brother during the war?
He was stationed in New Orleans.
Oh, he was in the service and he was stationed in the States.
Yes.
What was
He's a
his function?
captain in the Army. He's an attorney, and he did not go overseas.
Liaison between the longshoremen and the Army.
Oh, that was his job?
Yep.
During the war, I see. That's what caused him to stay in New Orleans, because he was working in New
That is
Orleans
what-
during the Army?
He became very friendly with a man whose name is Edgar Stern. Stern's family at one time owned Sears Roebuck.
Oh, that's a small company.
Yeah. And Cabby was a captain in the Army, and he's an attorney, and they became
Tennis player.
They became what?
very friendly through his tennis.
Right.
You know, he's a real tennis.
Tennis buff. Right.
Well, won a national championship. He was captain of the University of Pennsylvania team.
Wow.
So
So you must be very proud of him.
I sure am.
Right. He's a good brother. How much older is he?
He's 7 years older than I.
7 years older. So he didn't come to the wedding either. No, nobody came to Seattle.
He was in the service. It was a
A
very
different
tough
time.
A very different time.
And your parents were here working in the store.
Not my mother and stepfather. My father died in 1936.
Oh, your father died before you. Your father never saw you got married.
No,
Was
I
and,
was 16 when he died.
and how? When did Cabby get married?
He got married a year or two after we did, up in New England.
Oh, he was married in New England.
New Orleans. Married to one of
Yes,
your
but-
sons.
I know that they were married in New England.
Hmm.
But your mother went down to New Orleans. To
Well,
Orleans.
It was
Probably-
Prez who got married in New England, right?
Right.
Prez got
Prez
married.
was married in New Orleans.
Prez got married in New England. Dad, when did you graduate school?
College?
College.
1938.
And what was your mother's maiden name?
Her cow.
Okay, and did she have brothers and sisters?
Yes.
How many brothers and sisters did she have?
She had 2 brothers and 1 sister.
And what were their names?
Brothers were Lou and Irving,
Burkow.
her cow.
And the sister?
And the sister was,
It's not easy to remember.
her married name is Lewis. Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis.
Right.
Mom, I forgot to ask you what your grandparents' name were.
My mother's
Your mother's maiden name,
parents'
Your-
name was Shavelson.
right? And her parents, what were their names? Your mother's parents' names. Your grandparents' names.
I
You know-
forget their first name. Joe, that's a long time.
I know, right? That's why we're having it on tape so that we can never forget. We can look at it on tape. You don't remember their names. You know, we're gonna have a reunion in September. We'll ask some of the other Shavelson people
Okay.
as to what their names are. And what about your father's parents? You know his
I
name?
know. They came from, my father came from Russia and his family came from Russia.
But even in Russia, they had names.
What?
Even in Russia, they had names.
I didn't know them and I didn't know anything about them.
No, I don't know my grandparents' names either.
Oh.
It's really bad.
They came from Minsk in Russia.
Okay. All right, we'll continue in a minute. All right, we're back and we're ready in our interview. And I know it was a long time since you were children, but what is your earliest childhood memory, Mom?
I have none.
None.
I really,
Well, you must remember going to school.
oh yes, I
Right.
went to school. I went to Nassau School in East Orange.
Nassau School, that was the elementary school.
In East Orange High School.
And do you remember your fifth grade teacher?
No,
Do you remember your high school?
I don't remember any of my
No, me neither. I don't remember. Do you remember any classmates? No classmates?
If I got into my yearbook, I would, but right now I'm not able to.
Dad, do you remember? What's your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory is when I had my tonsils out,
Oh, how old were you?
4 years old.
4 years old?
You can remember
You
that?
remember that?
Yes, I do.
That's amazing.
I remember because the nurse took my cherry.
The nurse took your cherry?
That's right.
What does that mean?
They gave me a sundae of vanilla ice cream with a cherry on top,
Right.
and my throat was so sore that I couldn't handle the cherry, so the nurse took the cherry.
Oh my.
That's
which
right.
which hospital were you in?
I remember that distinctly.
Do you remember?
Northfield Hospital,
In Newark?
I think so.
And do you remember your brothers visiting you?
No,
You remember your parents visiting you in hospital?
I'm sure. My
Yeah.
mother and father.
And
When you were born?
no, you were 4 years old.
Oh,
That's miraculous that you remember that. What else do you remember next? Do you remember being in school, in elementary
In
school?
I remember being in kindergarten.
You do?
Yes. And I remember picking up my friend Arnold Grobman on 19th Street. We lived on 13th Street. I took my wagon
Yeah.
and went over to pick up Arnold Grobman, 19th Street, South 19th Street. And he was crying, but I pulled him along and I brought him to kindergarten with me.
What's his name? Arnold what?
Arnold Grobman,
G-R-O-V?
Grobman.
Grobman.
Our parents were very good friends. And Mrs. Grobman asked my mother if I would mind picking up her son Arnold to take to kindergarten.
Oh my God, that is unbelievable that you remember that. And so you took him because you were more mature than he was. You didn't.
Theoretically,
You're right. You weren't upset about going to kindergarten, and he was.
Arnold, as an aside, Arnold became a great educator. He became
dean. He was dean of a
he
college.
was dean of one of the colleges at Rutgers, and later on became a chancellor of Missouri College.
Oh, that's terrific.
Right.
And you stayed in touch with him? Is that how you know that?
Yeah, we saw him in Florida.
Well,
a few years ago.
after he retired, we got in touch with him, yes.
Oh, and he and his wife, was he married to somebody from New Jersey?
I'm not sure whether she's from New Jersey. I'm really not sure of that.
Is that his first
But we visited them in
in Florida, Jupiter.
Oh, in Florida, yes. Florida. In
And you were friends in kindergarten.
Friends of Kindergarten.
That's amazing.
Right. After
that is
he
really-
retired, we visited him in Vero Beach, Florida.
That's
Beach.
and you said that your mother had brothers and a sister, and did you visit with them? Where did they live?
Well, our sister Ray had 3 boys, and my mother had 3 boys.
Right.
And we used to exchange visits. One of Ray's sons would visit us, and at the same time, one of Mom's sons would visit the Lewises.
Oh, they'd stay with you? They'd come to your house and
Yes.
stay a couple of days?
Several days, right. And we had the most wonderful times.
Oh yeah.
Exchanging visits.
Where did the Lewises live?
On 1666 Townsend Avenue in the Bronx.
You remember their address?
Absolutely.
1666 Townsend Avenue in the Bronx?
Correct.
And their 3 boys, what happened to them?
We lost track of them. When we were young, my mother and her sister Ray were great party givers, and
Right.
we used to exchange invitations. But unfortunately, Ray passed away just before my bar mitzvah,
Right.
and then my mother became the catalyst for getting the family together on such occasions.
Did she when she got the family together, did she also get her brothers together too?
Yes, she invited everyone from the family to our house on South 30th Street in Newark.
And were you friendly with with your brothers, with your uncle's children also? Your mother's brothers, did they have children?
My mother's brother, well, Uncle Lou, one of my mother's brothers, had 1 adopted child.
Yeah. Older or younger than you?
Oh, younger.
Younger.
They adopted her much later on.
So were you friendly with them too?
We're friendly with Lou and Martha, yes, and with their daughter eventually. And Irving had 1 son, I believe. And
And are you still in touch with them today?
no,
No. What happened to them?
no, we never were very close with Irving, nor was he close with our family.
Where did Irving live?
He lived in Long Island, the Queens, or somewhere remote.
Hmm.
And we visited on rare occasions, maybe once or twice that I can remember.
And Ray's sons, they must still be somewhere in the area, right? You
Well,
know?
we kept in touch with, and they say when Mom was the catalyst for getting the family together, but after Mom and Dad moved to Florida, the whole thing fell apart.
I see.
I might say when I was courting Helen, in 1941, we went to Belmar one summer, and Bert Lewis came to visit. He stayed in touch with my mother when my mother was still up north.
Which one was Bert?
Bert was the oldest of the 3 Lewis brothers. It was Bert,
That's the first cousin.
I see.
Melvin, and Jerome.
That's Ray's
Ray's 3
sons.
right. And Bert was really the only one who kept in touch with us.
Oh, I saw pictures of you
Yes,
in
correct.
Belmar with Bert Lewis.
Very handsome young.
Oh, that's your cousin.
Yes, Bert Lewis.
And what happened to him since that Belmar summer?
I don't think he was even married at that time.
Yeah.
He was a very handsome guy, had
Very
a lot of beautiful lady friends, but he never married until much later on. He married a woman from Long Island, I believe, and we never were very close with them after that. And we lost track.
And that's after you were married, that you went to this Belmar vacation with
No, it
Bert
was
Lewis.
before we married, when I was courting Helen.
Oh, you were courting?
Yes, and I was invited to Belmar. I think was your family, your mother who had the apartment, or was my mother? I think it was my mother. Had the apartment, and my mother invited us to weekend at Belmar, and Bert Lewis came to visit, and we.
So your mother invited you and your girlfriend for a weekend,
Right.
and you and your girlfriend stayed for a weekend before you were married.
Right.
You had a very progressive mother.
Separate rooms.
Oh, separate rooms.
I can assure you there were separate rooms.
And did your mother stay in guard in the middle of the night to make sure that you
Well-
stayed in separate rooms?
She, I think her room was between those 2 rooms. She kept her door open.
And were your brothers there too?
I don't remember that. I just remember at that time, Helen and I and Bert Lewis. The reason I remember that particularly is because Bert conceived the idea of getting a bicycle built for three.
Oh.
And he put me in the front seat, and I think Helen was in the middle, and Bert was in the rear seat. And we were riding on a boardwalk, the three of us, one bicycle, and all of a sudden I felt a terrible strain trying to ride the bicycle. I turned around and they both had their feet out like that, and I was doing a little pumping.
Oh, that's very funny. So that's 60 some odd years ago, right? That was a long.
61 years ago.
That's unbelievable. That's terrific. And do you remember your first car?
My first car?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before World War II, this is when, I think it must have been maybe 1939. Mike and I, my younger brother Mike and I decided to buy a car together.
What happened to Bert?
With a rumble seat.
Did Bert already have a
Bert
car?
was married.
Oh, Bert was already married.
Bart was married, had his own car. Mike and I bought this car together for $250. It was a Chevrolet,
Yeah.
1932, I believe,
How old were you?
with a rumble seat. I was about, let me see, I was about 21,
And how old was Mike?
16,
Oh,
17. Maybe I was 22, and Mike was 18.
And so,
4 years difference.
and the two of you shared a
Shared
car.
this car. We did shared it directly in half. In fact, on weekends we'd wash the car.
Right.
He'd wash his side, and I'd wash my side. Split everything, all the costs down the middle. On rare occasions, the car would drive down the street. One side was clean, the other side was dirty.
That's so funny.
And I bet your side was clean.
Your side was always clean.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And how did you decide who was going to drive? What if you both needed the car?
We shared the time. We had a medical schedule of some kind. Came the war, and I told Mike to use the car and sell it whenever he had the opportunity or necessity, and give him half of whatever he got for it.
And so while you were away in the Navy, he sold the car?
He sold the car to Dad's bookkeeper,
Oh.
Sam Emersano, who purchased it for $250.
Same amount you paid?
Same amount we paid, because at that point cars were getting very scarce during the war.
So it got more valuable.
And I understand later he sold it for about $500.
Oh, wow. He made a
Yes.
profit. And did Mike go into service too?
Mike went into service. He was in for 1 year, but he was surveyed out because of his asthma.
Oh, Mike has asthma.
Yes.
And what about Bert?
Bert went in 1945, I believe. He was married, had a child, so he had deferments. And he finally went in 1945, sent to Germany. He was there for about a year
Oh.
or two, I'm not sure.
And then his wife stayed here.
Wife stayed here, right?
And he had a child here. So
Child.
while he was in Europe.
Right.
And did your father have any siblings?
Dad had one brother, Aaron, and two sisters, Sadie and Bertha.
Oh, yeah. And Sadie is Mel Weinberger's mother.
Correct.
And Bertha.
Sadie was here very early on. Dad brought Aaron over first. Dad came over when he was 13 years old.
Right.
After just had his bar mitzvah. And he established himself and brought Aaron over first. His brother Aaron. And then eventually brought his sister Sadie over. Sadie went back to Czechoslovakia, where their home was, and married a gentleman by the name of Sam Weinberger. And then he came back to this country and settled here.
Oh, she was here and then came back afterwards?
Yeah, she was here, went to Europe, and came back again with her husband and settled here.
How come she left to go to Europe? Why didn't she?
I don't know. Maybe she knew about Sam. Maybe she knew about him, and she decided to go back. And in any event, she went back. They married, and she came back here with Sam.
And she came back married.
Married, right.
Oh, that's a very interesting story. I didn't know that. So
Yes.
so Sadie was married in Europe and then came back here married with Sam,
Correct.
Mel's father.
And then had Melvin.
And Melvin was born here.
Right. Exactly.
And did Aaron come here after the war?
No, Aaron was here long before the war.
Oh, and does he?
As was Sadie.
Right, Sadie and Sam had Mel, that was their only child.
Right.
And Aaron, well, who were his children?
Aaron married Helen, another Helen, and had two girls, Doris and Frances.
Oh, that's who we met at Mel and Carol's house.
Correct. Correct. Doris
Oh,
and
one of their husbands died recently, right?
Right. I think his name was Bert, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
I remember.
I didn't realize who they were.
Yes.
So that's your Uncle Aaron's children.
Correct.
They were almost the same age, the two sisters, right? They're only about a couple
Just
years
about
apart.
A year or two apart.
Right.
Doris was older. And
They're about your age.
Frances was younger.
They're your age or a little younger.
Younger.
And the other sister, Bertha's children are. That's who we know. That's the Lefkovics,
Dad brought his sister Bertha over here with her children
right?
about a year after the war, maybe 2 years.
And that's Bertha Lefkovic. She was.
Bertha
Did she come with her husband?
No, her husband had died over there.
Oh, he died in Europe. How did he
Yeah.
die?
I think he died in concentration camp. I'm not exactly sure.
And they came. They have 5 children, right? Bertha had 5 children.
That's correct.
Uh,
That's correct.
How did you know that?
Manny?
because I know the family. I know Manny and Frida
Frida?
and Irma, Freddie, and
Freddie?
Dave
Dave?
and
Ethel?
Ethel, and there's one more.
Yeah, a daughter who died.
One more that died.
Right. I forget her name.
She was married to Betty.
Betty.
Betty,
Married to Dave.
right.
That's right.
So Betty was the oldest sister?
No. Ethel was the oldest.
Ethel's the oldest.
Right.
Right, so we know that side of the family. And before you went into the war, before you became a naval officer, weren't you in the cavalry? How did you get it?
That's National Guard cavalry unit. I think from 38 to 39.
And what caused you to join the
Well,
National
I
Guard?
had a friend, Mortimer Schultz. We both liked to ride horses. And we decided to join the Essex Troop Cavalry.
Yeah, as we're filming, we get your oldest, most beautiful daughter in the film also from the back.
Okay.
We
good.
catch her.
Hi, Marilyn.
Yeah.
And but before we went in, before we signed up, I made a deal with the captain who was in charge of the Essex Troop headquarters. I think it was the headquarters troop
Where was the troop headquartered?
in West Orange,
On Pleasant Valley Way?
Pleasant Valley Way. It
Where-
was the headquarters troop, 102nd
It was near,
Cavalry Division.
it was near Daughters of Israel.
Oh,
Still there.
where it is there? The National Guard unit's still there next to.
Right, but I think it's owned by the Army. It's operated by the Army now.
Right.
Mechanized. At that point, it was cavalry.
It was horses, real horses.
I made an agreement with the captain before I signed up, informal agreement, that when I had to take my CPA exam, that he would release me
Right.
from the National Guard. And it turned out that way.
As soon as you took the exam, he released you.
Fortunately, after I was, 1939 as a matter of fact, he released me and I took my exam and studied for my exam, passed it. And it was a stroke of luck because soon after the war started, 1941, this National Guard was mobilized. The cavalry. They were mechanized.
Which means that they became a tank unit?
Became tank units.